Do you have anything to say on YouTube? Clearly not. Hello, it's me. Fine. I'll just say what I usually say. Hey nerds, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be discussing Jardin Sur Le Nil by Hermès. So I was actually shooting a video where I showcased summer fragrances I personally wear, and I realized I was talking way too much, especially with this one. And there's no way I wanted to make another subtitle for 40 minutes. Trust me, it's hell. So I thought, why not just make a separate review of this fragrance? Next video I'll be doing, I'll be showcasing the fragrances I personally wear for summer. Hold your horses, Patience, Grasshopper. But as you can see, I love this fragrance. I used a lot of it. So for my next video, I'll be showing you guys 3 or 4 fragrances I personally wear for warm weather, and I guess this will be included in it. But for this video, I wanted to go into this in more depth. Now, I don't speak French, nor do I plan to. So here's a dubbed version with the correct pronunciation.
Un jardin sur le Nil, Hermès. Un jardin sur le Nil, Hermès.
I thought that was pretty good. You didn't even notice that wasn't my voice. Un jardin sur le Nil, Hermès. The reason I wanted to make a separate video for this fragrance particularly is because I realized whether you know the history behind this fragrance is a good indication of whether you're too invested into this hobby or not. Because if you dwelled around this hobby long enough, you would already know that there's a book written about this. It's called The Perfect Scent by Chandler Burr, where he follows around Jean-Claude Ellena when he was developing this fragrance for Hermès. It's a very famous story within the community. The story goes that Jean-Claude Ellena was inspired by the Garden of the Nile River. As the name implies, Un Jardin Sur Le Nil means Garden of the Nile. Apparently he was sniffing around everything around the Nile River and stumbled upon green mango, which he was trying to replicate in this very fragrance. What, you never been to the Nile? Me neither. So obviously I've never been there. So for me, this reminds me of, dwelling around the cityscape and stumbling upon a garden amongst the city, amongst a metro area that's filled with various flowers and vegetation. People hype the heck out of this fragrance. So when I got a bottle, when I first sniffed it, I was so surprised by how bitter it was, which was surprising because this is obviously a generalization, but a lot of designer fragrances tend to be sweet because it's much more accommodating to the mass audience. I love sweet fragrances. It's just that this is really bitter when you first spray it. It's watery, it's green, but surprisingly dry and not sweet. I don't have to tell you guys this, but fragrances are subjective, but at the same time, you can measure how faithful a fragrance is to a brand identity. And I find that much easier for designer fragrances. While niche houses tend to focus on the perfumer themselves, designer fragrances do have a brand identity that they pursue. The thing I loved about Jean-Claude Ellena's work, let alone Hermès fragrances in general, is that they're actually very faithful to the brand identity, which in one sense can determine if a fragrance is good or not, if there ever was a spectrum. It's very transparent and elegant, like Hermès. It's very ephemeral. The opening is very citrusy and bitter, as I said, but it's not citrus dominant. And the bitterness honestly reminds me of green mango, tomato stem and leaf, not the fruit itself, but the stem and the leaf. And I don't think anyone actually mentioned this yet, probably because they're not used to the food itself, but it kind of reminds me of bitter melon as well, which is an ingredient that comes quite often in Chinese dishes. And a lot of people say the dry down is drastically different. For me, it's actually pretty consistent, but it does tend to lean towards more to the floral side, and it becomes slightly sweeter as it dries down for me. It's very fleeting and not long-lasting, which tends to be a characteristic of summer fragrances or spring fragrances. So for me, that transition really isn't that much drastic. There's also a touch of smokiness from the incense, but it's barely noticeable at the dry down. It's also perfectly unisex. You guys know I prefer unisex or even feminine leaning fragrances, but this is just right in the middle. This is perfectly unisex. So yeah, I'll be including this in my summer list that I'll be uploading shortly. So do look for that. But meanwhile, if you were looking for a spring summer fragrance, this is definitely a one that you should check out. I honestly love the whole Jardin line, and I love Hermès in general, and I feel like a lot of people do. Yeah, that was my quick thoughts on this fragrance. I love it. Here's the bottle. Look at the bottle. Here's the bottle. I gotta shut the f up now. My cat's sleeping. Do you guys know this fragrance? It's pretty famous. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.